I bet it would be cool if we could get ourselves some real-life Venom-type symbiotes. We'd be much faster and stronger and would have a friend that is always with us. So, is their habitat limited to comics and movies, or are there any chances we can encounter some space symbiote in real life? Venom first appeared in comic books in the 80s as an alter ego/villain of Spider-Man. It was introduced in 1984, and for a while it stayed just a new fancy black Spider-Man suit. Venom as a separate character only appeared in 1988. Soon, however, it managed to spread outside the Spider-Man's rogue gallery and evolved into a standalone entity, an anti-hero of sorts. As well as it multiplied, so far that there are now more than 40 known symbiotes in the Marvel Universe, of which more than 10 are Venom's direct offspring, while the rest are related to him to a varying degree, but at the very least they share its species. The proper name of this species would be Clintar, and they are all slimy, amorphous, at least partially black, and capable to bond with their host, forming some kind of a single entity. Venom's debut on the big screen was in the third Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movie, and it was not exactly a success. This movie kinda buried the whole Sam Raimi's Spider-Man franchise. I don't think it was Venom's fault specifically, however. Rather, the movie got so overloaded with characters that it didn't have enough time to really tell their stories. Also, there's that. Yeah, apparently that's what you do when you get invaded by an alien symbiote, according to Sam Raimi. But then some copyright shenanigans ensued, and Venom ended up separated from Spider-Man in different cinematic universes. Spider-Man got into MCU, while Venom stayed in the hands of Sony, which decided that it's good enough for a standalone movie, and in a way it was. There were two more or less successful Venom movies released already, and there is the third one, which is gonna hit the cinema screens just around the time when I release this video. I haven't seen the third movie yet, but I am aware of one element in it that is of utmost importance for the question I'm trying to answer in this video. Can there be Venom? That element is a character named Knull, and according to the Marvel comic books, he created Venom and all the other Clintar. Why is that important? Well, according to comics, Knull is a primordial dark deity known as the King in Black. He has existed since before the Big Bang. His awareness and communication abilities somehow stretch throughout the whole universe, and he can manipulate darkness as if it was tangible matter, from which Knull has actually created the Clintar, as well as a Necrosword, which can kill gods. All that, plus some fairly usual comic book supervillain traits like immortality, mind control, levitation, and so on. It is all of course cool and all, but every single one of these abilities would place Knull into the fairy tale cake tier of scientific plausibility, and altogether they sink him even deeper, and that's where he will pull the symbiotes as well. That is, if we treat them as his creations. It has not always been this way. Knull actually first appeared in the comics in 2018, and before that, for more than 30 years, Venom was just kinda from somewhere out there in space. When I first saw Venom in 90s animation series, it was found on some space rock and brought to the Earth by astronauts, and while it's not as detailed and impressive origin story as being created by the primordial god of darkness from the living abyss, it is much more scientifically plausible. We know that many Earth-born organisms can survive vacuum for quite a while in their dormant, metabolically inactive form, and we have no reason to doubt that life is theoretically possible somewhere out there. So the space organism origin story sounds almost diamond tier plausible. Thus, I propose to rate scientific plausibility of Venom separately from Knull, treating it as just your regular extraterrestrial life form that is capable to survive long-distance space travel. That approach both boosts Venom's chances to be harder sci-fi, as well as it's more appropriate historically. At the end of the day, despite Knull being supposedly older than the known universe, Venom is 30 years older than Knull, and spent most of his his life on page and screen without him. Hell, he had his first solo movie released in the same year when Knull just appeared in the comic books. We will begin optimistically, giving Venom the top diamond tier of hardcore sci-fi, and then dropping it one tier down for each fact that seems to be scientifically problematic. First, I propose we try to answer the question, why exactly Venom and its host go into symbiosis at all, in principle. If we have a look at mutualistic pairs of creatures that decided to live in the intimate proximity of each other, we will see a pattern that repeats in almost every single case. There's the hermit crab and sea anemone. Hermit crab provides movement, thinking, and scraps of food. Anemone provides defense. Then there are corals and lichens, which are animal-plant and fungi-plant mutualistic organisms. Coral polyps and fungi in lichen provide structural support and certain nutrients, while algae in both cases do photosynthesis. Ants that live in acacia trees give them protection and sanitary care, while trees provide ants with food and shelter. What's the pattern here? Well, in all cases, both partners offer something that the other cannot do, but needs badly. And that is exactly what makes their bond so strong. What exactly humans have that Venom could need? The logical answer would be the articulated, large-sized body. But we get to see that symbiotes are perfectly capable of locomotion on their own, as well as I don't see why they cannot form their own skeletons and organs, if they are capable to grow teeth and tongue and eyes. In the first Venom movie, it is stated that symbiotes cannot survive our atmosphere without host, and we get even demonstrated one that dies for that reason. But again, at the same time, we get to see multiple cases of symbiotes living, moving around, and doing stuff without any host. In comics, atmosphere is not an issue, rather symbiotes need to consume chemicals produced by the human organism, phenethylamine and adrenaline to be specific. But these are fairly simple organic molecules, as far as biochemistry goes, and I don't see why the organisms as advanced and complex as Clintar couldn't evolve to produce them on their own. Let's maybe try to have a look from the other side. What can Venom provide that a human would need? Well, it enhances physical strength and grants some superpowers, but humans are known to do just as well without any of this. If anything, Venom and human functions are kinda overlapping. Both have advanced intellect and sensory organs of the same type, both can digest food, move and attack, so the very idea of mutualistic union between human and Venom-like symbiote is very shaky at best, which will move Venom to the Ruby tier. Next, there is a problem with alien origin of Venom. That is, while there is nothing wrong with the possibility of existence of the alien organisms per se, it doesn't sound very likely for an organism which adapted surviving long-distance space travel to somehow fuse seamlessly with an Earth-based life form. It is not guaranteed that Venom is carbon-based, and even if it is still very improbable for its biochemistry and cellular structure to be perfectly compatible with terrestrial life forms. Movies only make this worse. It seems some humans have difficulties fusing with symbiotes, while others do not. But at the same time, the very same symbiotes have no problems fusing with animals other than humans, which are much more different from humans histologically and biochemically than humans are from each other. So altogether, that drops Venom into the tungsten tier. But let's say by some miraculous coincidence, Venom happens to be biologically and chemically compatible with human organism, and absolutely needs one to exist. Next problem it will have is the reaction of human immune system. Our immunity gets provided by an army of almost 2 trillion cells, which are stationed in almost all of our tissues and are very paranoid and aggressive. They kinda evolved to kill anything that seems even slightly foreign. Immune cells tolerate mitochondria because our symbiosis with them is so ancient that they are basically part of us now, as well as they tolerate gut microbiome because they learn to recognize non-hostile bacteria as we grow and develop, since the very birth. However, they can wage war on our external symbiotes. A lot of people are known to be allergic to dogs and cats. How would your immune system react to the alien origin invasive organism? Well, in a very unfriendly way, I presume. It will try to reject and kill it. Which means that the entire body of a symbiote host must be in perpetual state of severe inflammation, which we don't really see in the movies. That will drop Venom into the quartz tier, and we are far from finished. Even if Venom somehow bypasses our immune security, there's another problem, which is fairly simple and obvious if you think about it. Where exactly in the human body Venom stays? Mitochondria live inside our cells. Microbiome lives on the skin and in the gut. But what about Venom? It certainly has some tangible mass and volume, I believe no less than a kilogram, probably much more. So where is it when it's not in a suit mode? It seems to hide somewhere vaguely inside, but the problem is there is no space inside us that would not be used for something really important. My best guess would be urinary bladder or large intestine, but that would make Venom extra stinky, which nobody ever mentions, as well as constantly put the host at risk of urinary and intestinal infections, which they never suffer, as well as it is plain uncomfortable, if only you don't have certain kind of exotic sexual deviations, if you know what I mean. Besides, we often get demonstrated clintar appearing on the surface of the human skin, kinda like seeping from the inside, which is just not possible. Skin is just not permeable to cellular-sized matter, and if something cell-sized somehow goes through it, that should leave bleeding ulcers and wounds all over the surface of the unfortunate host. So, into the iron and glass tier it goes, and it goes even further. Even if Venom is somehow compatible with us biologically, is able to make friends with our immunity, and lives, say, as a black goo patch glued to the skin somewhere on the back, like some more well-mannered fictional symbiotes do, there is still yet another problem: its transformation. Actually, there are many different problems with it, starting with the whole concept. If we study parasites that live inside us and outside us, that is, endoparasites and ectoparasites, we will see that these two environments provide very different challenges for the symbiote and thus demand drastically different adaptations. Human endoparasites are mostly different kinds of worms, while ectoparasites are generally arthropods, and none of them ever tries to go from the inside to the outside or vice versa. Another problem is the speed of shapeshifting. Some animals go through metamorphosis, sure, but it is a slow, gradual process that takes weeks or even months. Some other animals are known to shapeshift fast, but without structural changes, like for example octopuses, which can change color, texture, shape, but at the end of the day they still stay octopuses, with their recognizable shape that was just folded in some unusual way. That is obviously not the case with Venom. It alters its structure and grows new appendages and organs, like teeth or tongue. The only creature known to us that can transform in at least remotely similar way is slime mold, which is neither an animal, nor a plant, nor even a fungus. Rather, it is a weird ancient relative of amoeba, which has one cell with many nuclei. Slime mold can shape itself around the environment and make the best of the food sources that it finds. However, while its transformation speed is not as slow as in case of, insect metamorphosis, it is still not that impressive, up to 1 centimeter per hour. Because of its structure, it is also incapable to make any specialized organs, like the aforementioned teeth and tongue. Its cell stays of the same type all around the organism. You can take a sample from any part of it, and you will still see the same slime mold in a microscope. And if we take some organism that forms specialized organs, like humans, we stumble upon yet another problem. It only goes one way. Unspecialized cells, like human stem cells, can transform into many other kinds of cells, but they can't go back, which means that a real-life Venom would be good for one suit-up transformation only. Or it would have to shed itself like a snakeskin to transform back, which we never see. Shedding and regrowing main parts many times, as well as doing so fast, leads us to yet another issue. Such an organism would require enormous amounts of energy, far beyond what any known biological process can provide. To be fair, symbiote hosts are shown to eat a lot in the movies, but still, given all the other transformation problems, Venom goes yet another one tier down, into the aluminum tier. One more Clintar super ability that I doubt a lot is the enhanced regeneration that they grant to their hosts. Regardless of how much and how exactly you enhance human tissue regeneration, there are certain limits that it cannot cross, like neural cell and heart muscle regeneration, as well as there is certain maximum speed at which regeneration can happen in those tissues where it's possible. I mean, fractures cannot grow back in seconds. The only real explanation could be that the symbiote replaces human tissues with its own, but that would surely upset our immune system like a lot more than plain coexisting, and would require the degree of biological compatibility that is most certainly impossible. So that places Venom into the rubber tier of weak sci-fi, and it still has issues to discuss. There are two notable vulnerabilities of the Clintar: high-frequency sound and fire. Fire makes sense, almost all living beings can be killed with fire, but lethal sensitivity to sound is something much more exotic. While a lot of species are known to suffer from the sound pollution that is especially true and widespread among animals of the oceans, none are known to die from it. Nevertheless, I can't say that such a trait is absolutely impossible for an extraterrestrial species. What really bothers me in all that is Venom's alleged resistance to bullets. I mean, gunshots are terribly loud and they cover a whole bunch of frequencies. And bullets get really hot from gunpowder explosion and friction with the barrel of the gun. If anything, Venom should be really vulnerable to guns. Even if the temperature and sound frequencies of the gunshot are somehow not high enough to harm the Clintar, there is still plain physical effect. And we know very well how bullets behave in viscous and gelatinous substances. Gelatin gets commonly used for ballistic testing, and it is not really good at stopping bullets, at least not before they travel a considerable distance through it. That will finally drop Venom out of the realm of science fiction into science fantasy walks tier. And I still have one more issue to discuss. That last thing would be symbiote's ability to somehow read its host's mind and communicate with him without anyone else hearing. At first, that might sound like pure magic that finally beats Venom into the cake tier, but it is actually not that bad. Recently, I've made a video about whether we can get psychic superpowers, and one of the things I discussed there were abilities that we can get if we equip our brains with microchip implants and teach our neural cells to interact with them. If we replace electronics with a human-compatible symbiote that can read electric activity of our brain and produce its own electricity to respond, it actually looks like a really plausible explanation. We get to see how symbiote learns which zones of human brain mean what. It first talks with simple statements like food or kill. But the more it interacts with host, the richer is its vocabulary and the better is its ability to understand, which I find to be very plausible. There might be issues with how exactly symbiote connects to the whole brain without causing epileptic seizures, but I kinda feel like I'm nitpicking now, and I should probably raise Clintar one tier up, because in general, neural link they have with humans is depicted in quite a plausible way. So, yeah, at the end of the day, Venom and most of his relatives, except for Knull, seem to be science fiction after all. The weakest possible variety of it, but still, in at least some way plausible nevertheless. If you think it is disappointing, and or if you want a 100% scientifically plausible symbiote, I recommend you to have a look at my other video, which is kinda symbiotic with this one. In there, I review symbiosis in general, as a concept, as well as provide some examples of real-life symbiotes that we humans can have, or have already. So leave a like if you liked this video, and if you'd like to see more like it, subscribe. That is scientifically proven to work. Thanks for watching, stay hardcore, and see you in the next video.